Well, hey, this is Rhonda Simmons, and I am the founder and CEO of the Simmons Empowerment Foundation. And I'm so excited to have another episode of our podcast and radio broadcast called Empowered Heart to Heart, where we have messages of hope, conversations that heal, and interviews that empower. And I'm so excited today. I guess you can tell my glasses are steaming up, those that may be watching on our YouTube channel. You can see my glasses are steaming up because I'm that excited about our interview guest today and what she has to share with us today. I want you to like, comment, and share this video. I also, if you're watching the video on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe so you can be notified whenever new videos are posted because we're putting the content out so that you can be empowered to improve your life and to grow and change as you continue to apply certain principles in your life. Speaking of principles, you also want to make sure that you go on our website to check out our Dear Future Me program because you want to make sure that you're staying abreast of what we're doing and how we're trying to help not only teen moms, but students who are categorized as being at risk. And so there's our website information, www.tsefi.org. So make sure that you reach out to us and so that we can help your teenager be successful. And so, enough announcements. I am so excited. I'm going to bring in our guest, none other than Miss Sanita Mitchell. Woohoo!
Woo! Thank you so
Welcome,
much.
welcome, Sanita. So glad to have you. How you doing?
Great. I'm so happy to be here. I love, love, love this topic that you have me here for today.
Yes,
So it's very
yes.
personal, and I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you because it is amazing to me. I worked with a teacher who was also a teen mom, and she has this saying that teen pregnancy is not a death sentence. You know, it's all about what you do from that moment forward. And so I don't want to get ahead of our interview. So why don't you share with us about yourself and your story as a teen mom or single parent?
Absolutely. So I was both, right? I'm a teen mom and then, a single mom. As I became an adult, I feel like that single mom, right? I had my first son. I was in my junior year, heading into my senior year of high school. I had to think for a second, right? Like, how old was I? So when he was actually born, I was 17. And just in high school, 11th grade, in my school, that at this time there were all kinds of teen pregnancies. It was like a big thing going on, and it was like teen pregnancies all over the place. And I just didn't know what I was going to do at first, right? And so, just like all teen moms, you get caught off guard, right? Like I didn't even know, like that I was pregnant. I hid it for almost half the pregnancy. Like my mom didn't find out that I was pregnant till like 6 months. I was probably entering
Wow.
into the third trimester. But in fact, she found out because someone called her, called my number and said, "Hey, Sanita is pregnant," and they hung up. And yeah, and so she said when I came off the bus, she said, "Hey, I want to talk to you." And I was like, because I had kind of been avoiding them
Mhm.
at that before I became pregnant. Let me back up a little bit. Before I became pregnant, I used to be around my parents all the time. Like I would just be up under them, be in there. They had a water bed. So this was a long time ago. This was 1992. They had a water bed.
Okay.
And so I would stay like in their room. But then as I started to figure out something was going on, because I couldn't button my pants. I couldn't, and I was like, I think I'm pregnant. And I snuck off with one of my best friends and we bought a test. It came up positive, and I was scared to death because my mom was the mom that was like, don't you come in here. with no baby. And so I ended up telling my son's father's mother first, because I felt like would take it better than my mom. And so I talked to her, and we came up with a game plan on what we were going to do. She was like, "This is your decision. This is your and his dad's decision on what we were going to do." And she pretty much just left it with us figuring out like what we were going to do.
Now, was that his mom or your mom?
No, that was his mom. I didn't dare. My mom, so his paternal grandmother knew for a while. Okay,
Yeah,
so
you can't fool the grandmamas. I'm telling you, Big
yeah,
Mama
now my
always knows.
yeah, now his mother we told,
Mhm.
because we were like, we got to tell somebody, because it was starting to become so much so I could not hide it. Like I faked everything. I faked my cycle. I went through the whole thing like I would normally do, because my mother knew my pattern, right? Like she knew like I wouldn't go to school. So I once a month I did not go to school. I took my showers like I would normally do because I had really bad cramps. So I would take my showers. I did the whole masquerade up until she got that phone call. Now his mother knew, but she was like, "I'm only giving y'all a little bit of time before we have to tell your mother." Right. If that means I have to bring her over here, she's gonna be upset. She's gonna be mad. Like, I mean, and my dad was in the house. Like, I have both parents in the house. So that whole myth about teen pregnancies and coming from a single mom, I have both parents. My dad was in the military. My mom's just regular working in the house. So I was not that statistic that they like to throw out there that all single teen moms are all from like these broken homes. It was nothing broken. They were both there. And so, but I was petrified. I
I
was
can
so scared
imagine.
to
I
tell
can
my mother.
imagine. But
I
you
denied it
brought
all the way up until we went to the doctor. So let me just say, so once she got that call, she still didn't believe me. So she was like, "Why would somebody call?" And I was like, "Well, mom, there's some mean kids at school. They don't have nothing else to do." And she took me to the doctor, and the doctor, he was like, "You already know." Like he pulled that will out and everything, and he was like, "So you already know. So why did you make your mom go through all of this?" Right. And so he said, "Let's go out here." And I'll never forget, my mom leaned up against that wall, and when he came out and he said, "She's pregnant." And I remember her slide down that wall, and she just started crying.
Sanita, you bring up a good point. Sometimes people can be so judgmental and think that they know the story, um,
Mhm.
behind why a young lady would get pregnant. But there are so many reasons why. I mean, when I say so many reasons why, until there's no cookie cutter reason. I mean, the end result is the same, kinda,
Yeah.
but there are so many reasons why. And I like how you brought out that you had both of your parents, so you weren't that statistic. It wasn't a broken home situation. It just happened.
Yeah.
And um and so now, during once your mom got over that initial shock, because I'm sure that took a whole minute. That
That
took a
took a whole minute.
Yeah, yeah.
It took her a minute. We had to go to McDonald's. She had to go to McDonald's, get her something like some coffee, I think she bought. And like she was just like, "I need a minute." We walked over here. Because the next thing was to tell my dad. Right? Like, so they didn't find out at the same time. So we had to go home. And I was scared. I stayed in the car. She was like, "Now we got to go in here and tell your dad." And I was like, "I'm not getting out the car." Because I'm a big, like, daddy's girl. I was like,
Mhm,
"I am not getting out this car. You're going to have to go in there." So she went in there and told him. She
mhm.
went in and she told him, and I remember her, I can just visualize her standing in the door saying, "Come on." So I came in, and he didn't really say much because I think he was a little bit in shock by the whole thing, of course, because he wasn't expecting that.
Mhm.
Um, but over time he was okay. Um,
Well, good, good. So, what type of resources did you need back then, but you may not have had access to? Or was that not the case at all for you?
um, I think looking back, the only resource that I probably could have used was more from the school itself, right? Like the school, even though we were experiencing high numbers of teen pregnancies, the school, like the guidance counselors, like I never talked to my guidance counselor. I never
Wow.
talked to the social worker. Like they never came and said, "Hey, we learned that you're pregnant. Here are some things that we can support you in." It was
Wow.
kind of like just go
Wow.
on like nothing happened, and that was it. Like, so I think as a teen, as I look back, I would have liked the support. I had friends, and I mean, I went through a lot when I was pregnant, just from the friends, the regular teen um issues that you face as a teen, but it was a little bit more magnified once I became pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you bring up something else that is really interesting. Right before the show, we were talking about how my organization, the Simmons Empowerment Foundation, has a program called Dear Future Me,
Oh,
and just I don't think we really went into depth about it. But the program aims to improve college and career readiness for at-risk students, and so we're trying to get into schools to have those motivational speeches and conversations with students, because I don't know about where you are, but where I am, you can have a high school full of 2,000 students with 5 school counselors. There
yeah,
is no human way those 5 counselors can
and
reach all those students. And
absolutely.
so having that extra layer of support, and even though you're talking about something way back then, it's still an issue today. And
Absolutely.
so I appreciate you mentioning that.
And
Um,
that's so important because you made me think the only thing that a lot of times these programs that they do have is just like, okay, well then you'll go to night school, right? Like, okay, so if you can't, you like finish during the day, then it had gotten too bad that they were almost telling girls later, like, hey, you can go to this other program where you will go with other
mhm,
pregnant teens, right? And
mhm,
you kind of they were trying to take you out because it was like, well, the more people, the more the teens in high school saw this, the more likely they would keep reproducing like this, right? Mimicking those behaviors. And so it was kind of
mhm.
like, well, should we just take them out the school altogether and make them go to a night school program where it won't be too many other students there? So I think it's key to make sure that they know that to let them know that there's life after this. Like this isn't a
Yeah,
death sentence. I saw that you mentioned that earlier. It's not a death sentence, right? It
right.
does
Mhm.
change some of those goals. It doesn't make your goals unachievable. It just may take a little bit more maneuvering to achieve it. Right? Doesn't mean you can't achieve it. It just means that you might have a little bit more work to
Yeah.
do to achieve it. Right?
Yes, absolutely. So, were your parents supportive? What type of support system did you have during the early days of your pregnancy and the birth of your son?
So we were really blessed, right? Because we had both set of grandparents, right? We had
Mhm,
both grandmas, both grandfathers, and the paternal, the dad's grandparents, they were ecstatic, right? Like so they were just like, and I mean, we went through all of the thought processes that the options, where are we going to keep the baby? Where are we not? Where are we going to adopt? We have all those conversations, right?
mhm,
And the first one, of course, some people, thought, well, maybe you guys, you're very young, you should probably terminate, right? And so we that's a whole nother story in and of itself, right? We were, but I'll just say it like that, that was blocked. Okay. And um, so when I found out, we went we did go to the clinic, but by the time we had gone, it was so late, and his mother was just like, "That's a lot of money," because at that time, my parents didn't know, and so um, they were just like, "We can't pay for that, and it's just going to cost too much." So, I said that because that's the type of support I had from the very beginning, at least from the paternal grandparents. They were willing to do whatever we wanted. And when my mother found out, now again, she didn't have a lot of time because I was about 6 months pregnant, and it was just kind of like, we need to move along faster. And so my dad he was in the military, as I mentioned. So we went right on to Walter Reed Medical Center here, and we started the pregnancy care. And thanks be to God, like, he was healthy, was nothing. I did all my testing, and my parents were there. Like, it was
Good,
just,
good.
they were just there. My mom was just like, okay, um, let's do this. Like, he's coming, and they were ready. Um,
Wow.
she did all my planning for my baby shower. She did everything.
So since you mentioned it, now that you've lived through it, do you have any regrets about are you glad? Maybe let me rephrase the question. Are you glad you didn't abort the baby?
I am. He had purpose. That's just how I felt. Like, I mean, each time it was just like we had so many hiccups going, and his grandmother, actually, and that paternal grandmother, she was something else. She was like, "I'm telling you, you it's a sign, like, he just needs to be here." And so, no, there is no regret, because we are two peas in a pod, and he'll tell you, like, we grew up together, right? Like, so he tells my other three children, like, y'all got a whole nother mom. Like, she was, let him tell it, I was the meanest thing on the planet. But I told him, I said, I was growing up, right? With you, I was growing up. I was just a kid having a baby, had no idea what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be, how I was going to achieve it.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I was totally different, a totally different person,
Wow.
just
Wow.
a teenager. And
Yes.
so I was a kid having a kid, and you were growing up with the kid trying
Mhm.
to be your mother, right?
Mhm.
And making the decisions that I felt that, I was just a kid. I couldn't even
Yes.
say that he was 100% always my number one priority, but meaning not, and I say that not saying I never neglected him. I never, but there were times I made foolish decisions that a teenager
Teenagers.
would
Yeah.
make, right?
And
Or even a
mhm.
young adult, like young
Mhm.
19-year-old, 20-year-old with a 3-year-old, right? Like, you
Mhm.
expected to be living your life. And so I made bad choices, and this is just like a light bulb went off where I had to change my priorities because of him.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. That answers my next question. I was going to ask you what motivated you to keep moving forward because uh here you are now. You're not a teenager and here you are now. What's life like now? How what successes have you had?
So now, so you said, what successes have I had
Mhm.
since then? Oh, I've
Mhm.
had lots of successes since then. So I even had another child when I was about 25. So then I had two kids, right?
Uh-huh.
As a single mother. But the success comes when they were my motivation. Like,
Mhm.
Keith, he was my firstborn. That's what I call him, Keith, my firstborn. He's my firstborn. I even call him that. He knows that. Hey, firstborn. Like, he taught me the lesson of I needed to make a change, right?
Mhm.
Because I was, again, making bad choices. And I'll never forget, I was dating a whole bunch of different people and bringing them in front of him. And he said to me one day, Mommy, this was what, to answer that question, what motivated me was when he said, Mommy, is this person going to stay too? Oh no, he can ready to go. Right? Because if this is what as much as I thought I was hiding things from him, he was very much seeing or hearing things that I thought I was hiding from him. So that was my motivation. After that, like he'll tell you, he ain't never meet nobody. He ain't never see anybody. He didn't never like it was like a light bulb. Oh no, this is not what I want to paint for you. And as a
Mhm,
result, everything that I did from going to school to medical office
mhm,
administration to going to get a college degree
mhm,
to everything I did, all of those successes, working all kinds of jobs, right,
mhm,
to make sure that he had what he needed was what I did, right? And so
wow,
those successes of the degrees, the certifications, even to meet my now husband, and not now, but he's the only husband I've not now husband, like I was
I
married
get it.
before. No, I, so when I met my husband, Keith was 16 and I had a 7-year old,
Wow,
right? And so again, it was very important. So those are all successes
that's
to me.
wonderful.
Mhm.
That is wonderful. That is, I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
So, tell us about Anaya's project.
Oh, absolutely. So Anaya's project. Anaya was born on April 26, 2010 at 28 weeks of pregnancy. She was the first baby between me and my husband.
Mhm.
And she entered this world for a brief moment. However, on April 26th, she was born and she received her angel wings on the same day. And that was my husband's very first experience with pregnancy. And it changed the very trajectory of our family's life. Because again, Keith, who was my firstborn, then Daniel, the second one born, we didn't realize just how much it had impacted them. Like we were a newly blended family. We were only married for a few months when we found out about Anaya, and then when she was born, this all happened within our first year. We weren't even 1 year into our marriage when we lost her. So now we are mixing up some more things with being a blended family, being married, and now navigating life um, after losing our daughter. And
So,
so Anaya, thank you so much. And so Anaya's project is a 501(c)(3) organization where we support families who have experienced the loss of a pregnancy, an infant, and who may be experiencing challenges with fertility in all facets, because that was our journey. It would take us 3 years of some really challenging fertility issues before we had our two little miracle babies that are now 8 and 9. And
wow,
so we understand what it's like. And so we offer programs, grief programs that walk people through how to deal with their loss. We provide bereavement boxes, angel gowns. The men have a support group, the Men's Grief Haven. And we just support the entire family because my firstborn was really impacted by the loss of his sister. And so it was important for us to have an organization that would give back to family. Again, going back to one of your questions about resources that was not there when we lost our daughter.
wow. That is so amazing that from your place of pain, you're building this nonprofit organization to help others. What a wonderful tribute to Anaya,
Thank you.
and to you. I celebrate you all. I can't imagine the pain that you went through back then, and even it's a pain that doesn't go away.
It does.
Every mother that I have ever met and asked the question, "Oh, how many children do you have?" I don't care how old that mom is. If that mom has lost a child, that
Hmm.
child is included in the number. You
Exactly.
and that just speaks volumes to me because she'll always be a part of you, and that is amazing. And so I have, as you can see, I displayed your website, and so can
Yeah.
people go on the website to donate if they want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
That number is 842-7138. Mm-hmm.
Oh, 7138. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna
No,
fix it
no,
right
that's
now.
fine. You can change it later. It's fine.
7138.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna fix it. We got technology and we're gonna get it right. And
It's okay. Yep,
um,
that's it. Yep.
okay,
Thank you.
7138. Okay. And that is wonderful. Well, I'm really excited about what you're doing. Looks like you have on some merch from your let's
Yes.
let's see.
We do.
Okay, a nice project. Oh, and it's got a little bling to it and everything.
Oh
Love
yeah,
it.
this is our personal shirt, but we do have our own merch on the website. So if you go to the website, you can
Mhm.
definitely support us through that as well.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. So, um, if you were to send a message to your younger self, what
Mm.
would, what would it be?
Um, my younger self, I would tell her, girl, look, everything gonna be okay, right? Don't settle, right? Never settle. You're gonna be just fine. That's what I would tell my younger self.
That's
Right.
wonderful. That's
Because that
wonderful.
would have definitely changed. Like it's like, they're saying, if I knew then what I know now, right?
Yeah.
I would have made a whole lot of different changes. It would have changed who I dated. But then I think it this is what I had to go through to become who I am.
Hmm.
Right? I
Yeah.
had to deal with the heartaches, the broken hearts, the
Mhm.
frustrations, the anxiety, the sleepless nights. Otherwise, I wouldn't be who I am. So if I could tell myself, if I was able to write that letter to that 17-year-old girl who was scared and lost and didn't know what she was going to do, and was she ever going to be able to achieve her own home, her own identity, her own things, despite what people said, in spite of what people saying, you weren't going to make it, you weren't going to be nothing, nobody was going to want you with those two kids and you by yourself. Lies, 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 and more lies. I would have said, yeah, and I got a really good person. There's a really good person at the end. There's a really good man that's going to want you and those two boys. So
Yes.
hang tight, girl. Don't deal with the foolishness, right? That's what I would tell myself.
I
Absolutely.
love it. I love it. Well, I am so glad to have met you, Miss Anita. It has been an empowering time that we've shared. Um, and where you may hear me use that word a lot because that is the focus of all that we do, um, to empower young ladies to move beyond this point. No matter at what stage we encounter teen moms, whether they're 6 months pregnant or they just had the baby or they're wherever they are in the process. My only question is, what are you going to do now? What is the plan? And I think that is so important. And I am so glad to hear that you had such a wonderful support system in place. And now, how long has Anaya's project been in business?
So Anaya's project was launched in 2018.
Oh,
So 4 years, just a little bit over four
mhm.
years now.
Oh, that
So
is fantastic. That is
yeah,
fantastic. And so I applaud the work that you and your family are doing. And any final words that you want to tell a single mom or a teen mom today as we close our interview?
absolutely. For the teen moms, right? You don't have to know everything at this time, right? Like you don't have to know what you're gonna do, or like how the end is going to end. You know what I mean? The goal is to just focus on where you are right now. You're not going to have all of the answers right now. So take it in chunks of time, right? Like what is
Right.
it that you need to do? But have a long-term plan, have a career plan. Maybe it's going to school, and then two, also don't be afraid to ask for help. Take the help,
Yes.
right? And find the support where you can, right? While I had both of my parents and the grandparents, it wasn't all walks through the tulips, right? There was some other issues, I'll leave it at that, that I had to overcome as well, right? So while they were there, you may not have that they're there, but you may have some nuances or some things that you have to deal with and maneuver around, but never give up, right? Never give up.
Absolutely.
Always find that hope, reach out to those resources. Don't be afraid when someone asks for help to receive the help from someone, right? And then lastly, you know, I can't promise that, everything's going to be great when you turn 47 like me, right? But I can tell you that you can overcome some things. And when you are your 47 self,
Mhm.
that you're going to be like, you know what? It might have been a rough couple of patches here and there, but I wouldn't trade nothing for the journey. That's what I can tell you, that you're
Yeah.
going to have some good days and you're going to have some
Mhm.
bad days. But guess what? You're gonna have the days, and at the end, lastly, no matter what, them babies gonna love you, right?
That's right.
Those
That is
babies gonna love you with all your flaws, all of your good things. They'll always be there to celebrate you. And if you keep them first and being careful on who you bring in front of them, always keeping, their safety first, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be
That's
okay.
great. That is some really, really good advice. Well, Miss Anita, thank you so much for being with us, and we appreciate your time. And I'm just so thankful that we were able to get together and you can share your story. I
Yeah,
appreciate you being here. And if you just hang tight, we'll be with you right in a moment.
okay. Thank you.
All righty. We are so glad to have had this interview with Miss Sanita Mitchell. This is wonderful. I know you have enjoyed it. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. Do what you have to do so that you don't miss any episodes of Empowered Heart to Heart. Thanks so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.